Welcome to the Random Article Podcast with your horoscope for September 2019, starting with Aries. Aries, this month, Mars passes through the meridian of the Giraffidae constellation, and so you might consider the example of the rare, endangered, inverse giraffe. Because while ordinary giraffes reach their necks up to reach the tallest, highest leaves, the inverse giraffe plunges its long neck deep underground to chew and gnaw on the deep roots of tall trees. These roots are rich with nutrients in the loamy soil, and all the old energy is sequestered down here in the dark by these ancient trees. The inverse giraffe feeds on the rich, secret knowledge of the earth. And similarly, the rare geothermal giraffe plunges its prodigious neck so deep into the ground that it can feed on geothermal energy, hot rocks, down kilometers deep into the earth, where the heat of the mantle boils the moisture in the giraffe's neck, which generates steam, which rises up the kilometers of this giraffe's long neck and drives a turbine on the giraffe's body that sustains the giraffe in its long, slow, pneumatic strides across the savannah. The geothermal giraffe only feeds once every 3 years, and the sound of its drilling into the earth with its long neck can be heard from 10 miles away. Even more rare is the superlative giraffe, which has a neck so long that it can penetrate the very core, the center of the earth, 2,000 miles below our feet. The superlative giraffe feeds on the molten heat and the intense, crushing pressure of our planet's core. But it descends to the center not only to feed, but also to reproduce. The superlative giraffe can only breed by meeting another superlative giraffe's head down in the molten planet core. The other giraffe could live on the other side of the planet, but if their heads meet in the center, in the burning heart of the world, they can intertwine in an elaborate, confusing mating ritual said to last for a full year, eventually producing a single egg, golden and spotted brown, which contains a single newborn superlative giraffe. Legend says that now there's only one superlative giraffe left alive, and every year it descends and searches the planet's core, but tragically finds nothing. Our final rare giraffe species is the lunar giraffe. Unlike the subterranean drilling giraffe species, the lunar giraffe uses its long neck to rise up through the stratosphere, out into the airless void, and it reaches all the way up, reaching its long neck all the way to the moon, where the giraffe licks at the surface like a guinea pig or a deer with a salt lick, getting rich nutrients and silver stardust from the moon. So the takeaway, Aries, your horoscope is to look for warmth and sustenance in unexpected places. Taurus. Taurus, as you know, vampires are evil, spooky creatures of the night that sneak into your home and hearth and suck out your blood. They steal your life force while you sleep so that they are enriched, but you wake up exhausted, dreading the day ahead. But Taurus, have you ever heard of an anti-vampire? A nega-vampire, as they're called. An anti-vampire looks like a regular vampire, with the pale skin and the long teeth and the glittery abs and the Transylvanian accent. The anti-vampire is also a creature of shadows. It also enters your home and bites your neck, but instead of taking blood, the anti-vampire gives you energy. It gifts you with vitality, life force, and inspiration. So you wake up the next morning with a slight hickey, but you are full of hope and life. So the point is, Taurus, that by appearance, the anti-vampire is indistinguishable from the evil, parasitic vampire. Which means that those who do good don't always do it openly and loudly. Sometimes parasitic people seem good, and good people seem bad, when, no one is either, really. Everyone's both. But the point, Taurus, is that you do well to use garlic to repel the vampires, to keep away the bloodsuckers. But if you do that, Taurus, you might also miss out on those who give life in ways that you might not even notice. Gemini. Gemini, your skull, your bleached bone in your head, contains a small, grey, wrinkled flesh sponge called a brain. It's got two halves, and it's pretty ugly, and it smells weird. And it's got an expiry date. It dies eventually. If you found your brain in a fridge instead of in a skull, you wouldn't eat it. But your brain, Gemini, is where you live. And the thing about your brain is that it's not just a odd-smelling grey sponge. Your brain is also a pearl. Gemini, you know where pearls come from, right? That they grow from grit. Like just a little irritant, a speck of dust, or a bit of sand lodges in an oyster's shell or in a skull. And this grit becomes a seed. Gemini, the grit from which you grew, from which your brain grew, was a little zygote. Little embryo, a little speck of spunk and DNA and original sin. And everything that you've ever done is encoded in there. All of your memories and your fears and your hopes and all of those of all your ancestors, from your granddad to the caveman to the fucking coelacanth. It all mixes together in this potion, in this chemical experiment, and it grows in the sunlight. Photosynthetically, it sucks in the light of your life, and your brain swells up and fattens with your experiences and your thoughts until one day, when your brain is ripe, at the end of its life, a god comes along, and the god cracks open your skull on the day that you die. And the god takes the pearl of your brain, plucks it out of your skull, and then strings it onto a necklace. A pearl necklace with all the other pretty shiny little brains plucked from the skulls of 1,000 souls before you. Gemini, the gods want pretty thoughts. They want shiny thoughts. So Gemini, please your god and think pretty shiny thoughts. Cancer. So Cancer, you know how voodoo dolls work, right? That you create an idol or a simulation or a representation of something, and in doing so, you gain power over it, over the real thing. It's like in witchcraft. There's the concept of a true name. So like demons have a public name, like Beelzebub or Abaddon the Destroyer or whatever. But they also have a secret true name, their real name, which is like Terry or Jeff or something. And if you know a demon's true name, you can control them and command them. Because if you can capture someone's essence, or even just their likeness in which it's imbued, you can burn them like an effigy, or you can control them like a puppet. That's what you can do with someone's essence. And this is what Zuckerberg is doing with Facebook, right? Capturing everyone's feelings and relationships and communications and aspirations. He's cataloging and encoding our souls as a means of control and of profit. But the point is that when you give someone your image or your words or your face or your passions, you give them a part of yourself. So you don't want to spread yourself all over. You don't want to put parts of yourself in unkind hands. But that is what love is. Intimacy is showing someone your essence, honestly, openly, and wholly. Often it's showing someone your junk as well, but it's about revealing yourself and your true name to someone, which gives them power over you. It gives them the potential to hurt, because intimacy is vulnerability. It's like when your dog rolls over on its back to get belly rubs, right? It's showing you its vulnerable part, because love is saying, I trust you not to hurt me. Love is telling someone your secrets, knowing that they'll keep them. It's telling someone your dreams and knowing they won't laugh. It's telling someone your lamest jokes and knowing they will laugh. It's leaning on someone and knowing they won't drop you. Love is baring your heart and handing someone a knife and knowing they won't stab you. Of course, sometimes they do, and that's why love hurts, but it's also what makes it happen in the first. So Cancer, you might want to think about where you're putting yourself, where you're handing out your cruxes, whose hands are holding your essence, and whose essence you're holding, and how to hold it responsibly. Leo, Neptune is entering the Pleiades sector this week, which means that on Tuesday, you're going to sneeze so hard. It'll measure like a 2 on the Richter scale. Like this will be the first sneeze visible from space. This is going to leave a crater, Leo. So you're going to have to take certain safety precautions. You're going to have to avoid crowds and buildings, passing aircraft. Just go bush, Leo. Just find a paddock. Just drive out yonder. Find, some distant hill, and just try to minimize the damage. Leo, sometimes there's nothing else you can do but just minimize the damage. Just sometimes you just gotta know when to get out of town and just save others from yourself. Gesundheit. Virgo. Virgo, it's a well-known fact that some people are born without souls. These people don't show up in mirrors. They're usually ambidextrous. They can't dance. They drink soy milk. They watch dubs instead of subs, and they have eyes like infinite, swirling, screaming, infinite voids. That's soulless, people. And Virgo, the good news is that you're not soulless. You've actually got a far more complex problem. Virgo, you have multiple souls. And I don't know if this was like a possession situation, or like a Horcrux thing, or twins eating each other in the womb, possibly a haunted vagina situation. However it happened, there are multiple souls in your body, so somewhere between 3 and 5.5 souls, each with their own personalities, impulses, needs, ages, species, different tastes in music, different sexual orientations, different Hogwarts houses. It's chaotic in there, Virgo, in you. And, this is probably why you feel so conflicted and confused sometimes. Like when you're torn in different decisions and directions, it's because of all these fucking souls pulling you every which way from within. So, the question is, what can you do about this? Because, one option, Virgo, is to learn to live with all your different souls, to find compromises and balance between all your conflicting needs and passions. But also fuck that, right? So, a quicker alternative is exorcism. You can remove all of your excess souls. You can suck them out with like a Ghostbusters vacuum cleaner. Liposuction for souls. It's called a solarectomy, a cheap and relatively painless procedure. We can, for the low price of $99,999, we can suck out all of your souls except one, and you can live in peace forever. The question, Virgo, is which soul will you keep? Like of all your identities and your essences and your dreams, which do you feel most tied to? Which is the real you, Virgo? Like if you had to choose one, like who the fuck are you, Virgo? Sit Virgo. Who the fuck are you? Libra. Libra, you're going to patronize that mystical, politically incorrect Chinese restaurant from the movie Freaky Friday. And you'll get a fortune cookie, just like Lindsay Lohan in the movie. But when you snap open the fortune cookie and pull out the strip of paper that reads your fate, the paper will keep coming. It'll spool on out forever, like a ribbon from a clown's sleeve. Just meters and miles of paper of your cookie fortune will just come pouring out of this cookie forever, telling the real-time, present tense story of your life. Every moment you live, every thought, every occurrence is described on this paper in detail, like a novel or a screenplay. So maybe you could sell the rights to Netflix. They'll buy anything. Or maybe you could, I don't know, do dream research. You could read what dreams you experienced while you're asleep and had later forgotten. Like, you'll never forget anything. You could do lots of, like, psychological, perceptual research with this. Like, you could take drugs and enter altered states of consciousness, and your experience could be, like, objectively studied. This could be a great scientific tool. Like, what about when you die? Like, when you die, what will it say on the paper? That could be interesting. Alternatively, you could go to the energy sector. You could set the paper on fire and use it as a perpetual energy source, because this is a fuel source that will never run out. A great bonfire powered by your life, feeding the nation's energy needs. Of course, you will have to be careful with that, because if this great fire follows the trail of your paper like the fuse on a stick of dynamite, I mean, if it reaches the fortune cookie from which the paper comes, that the cookie that contains the whole singularity of your life, if it burns, I don't imagine the consequences would be good. So Libra, your horoscope is when you visit this Chinese restaurant, make sure you try the barbecue pork. Scorpio. Scorpio, you're probably familiar with the phases of the moon. There's like the full moon, the new moon, waxing, waning, gibbous, crescent. And there are also some like rarer, little-known phases of the moon, like the supermoon, when the moon looks really big, and the blood moon, the red moon, and there's the opalescent moon, which is when swamp gas makes the moon appear all shiny, like a pearl. There's also the donut phase, which is when a passing asteroid just blacks out just like the middle of the moon, so it looks like a giant white donut in the sky. There's also the vigorous gibbous, which orbits the Earth at such speed that it's actually visibly moving across the sky, like a passing aircraft, which occasionally, terrifyingly, progresses to the swooping phase, when the moon rushes down fast at the Earth and then pulls back at the last minute. Scientists fear that one day the moon might fly too close to Earth, and the sheer velocity of the vigorous gibbous could light the Earth's atmosphere on fire. The mirror phase of the moon is when the moon looks like Earth. It reflects our planet's appearance exactly. There's also the aquatic phase, when the moon rains down on Earth in a great moonstorm, drenching our planet in silvery white rain. Moon water has some healing properties, but it can also cause lung cancer, so it's not recommended. There's also, of course, the goth phase, and the citrus phase, and the screaming phase of the moon. So basically, the moon's a mixed bag. Most astronomers agree. Scorpio, your horoscope is that your September will be a mixed bag. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, Adam and Eve didn't have belly buttons because they weren't born from wombs. They had no mother. They were magicked up by God, summoned like a rabbit out of a hat. So Adam and Eve had no umbilical cords, no navel, and pretty soon we're going to have lab-grown babies born in artificial wombs. So the people who don't have working wombs can have babies. But of course these babies, like Adam and Eve, will have no umbilical cord and no belly button. So when these kids grow up, will they be upset that they don't have a belly button? Maybe they could get an artificial belly button surgically, like to make themselves feel normal, like a conventionally born child. Or maybe it'll be like a point of pride to have no belly button. It could be like a status symbol to show that you're lab born. I mean, it'll probably be like rich people who do it, right? It's kind of like how some people who are circumcised get like foreskin restoration surgery to make their body take it back to like a natural, unaltered state. Like whatever that means. But look, Sagittarius, what I'm asking here is that if you had to choose, would you have a belly button? And would you have a foreskin? Those are the questions you must answer in September. Capricorn. Capricorn, it's a well-known fact that the average person swallows 30 spiders in their sleep each year. Why do you think that happens? Like it can't be an accident. It can't be by accident that these spiders just stroll on down your throat like Dorothy following a yellow brick road. There must be a purpose behind this esophageal spider suicide, right? So let's figure it out. Like, hypothesis 1, ritual sacrifice. The spiders have a cult, and they believe that you are a cruel and hungry god, and they make regular sacrifices of their spiderlings. They feed their children to you to appease your terrible wrath. Like, just imagine that they select their most beloved sons and daughters, the strongest and most beautiful spiderlings, and with their 8 legs they brush away their spider tears and watch as they march down your throat to be eaten in the night. Hypothesis 2, the spiders are forming a meta-spider, a conglomerate, giant mega spider in your gut, and every swallowed spider adds to this singular mass, and every year it grows and grows until one day eventually it will burst from your body and eat your liver. A giant 1,000-legged arachnid monstrosity, and it lays a zillion eggs, and all the hatchlings scatter to the winds to start the cycle again with another victim, because nature is beautiful. Hypothesis 3. Maybe each spider is trying to rescue their spider friend who was swallowed the previous night. It's just an endless conga chain of arachnids, each trying to correct the mistake of their predecessor. Like when you get a ball stuck in a tree and you chuck the ball at the first ball and it gets stuck, and you just eventually you just got a tree full of balls, which is actually how I was conceived. But it's like it's like how your parents, they always try to correct the parenting mistakes that their parents made, but then they just screw you up such that you try to correct their mistakes when you raise your kids. It's just this endless chain that goes on forever. But it leaves the question: if every spider is trying to rescue a previous spider, why did the first spider go down? What was the arachnid prime mover, the original sin, the grit that began this endless conga line of spider death? Hypothesis 4. It's a free source of protein. Don't complain. Hashtag spider gains. Capricorn, your horoscope is spider gains. Aquarius. As you know, Earth is a giant tectonic, meteorological, socio-political computer. Because like with any complex system, the introduction of controlled variables can produce computational, measurable output. Like Earth's biology and chemistry is read to analyze whatever inexplicable stimulus started the program in the first place when Earth began. So the question is what as a computer, as a machine, what is the purpose of Earth and the life on it? You'd hope that it's for something important, but statistically, if you do the math, and I've done the math, we are probably just part of a botnet that is used to mine cryptocurrency for some interdimensional being, or probably like a bot to perform DDoS attacks on servers in distant meta realities. Or maybe even less. Like, we could just be just a giant hard drive storing porn or memes for some unknown being. We might be deleted tomorrow. Our whole existence could just vanish in a second. Or perhaps even worse, we might just be obsolete. We just might be forgotten. Just a distant, dirty, dusty reality lying abandoned on a server rack in some forgotten dimension. Maybe that's all we are. So Aquarius, your horoscope is, don't underestimate your complete fucking irrelevance. Pisces. Pisces, did you know that in Catalonia, in Spain, or adjacent to Spain, or whatever the fuck, in Catalonia, they don't have a tooth fairy, they have a tooth mouse. That's a true fact. Which, like, when you think about it, I mean, of all the tooth creatures you could have to collect teeth, you would probably want a tooth creature with thumbs, right? Like fingers to hold the teeth. So maybe a tooth orangutan would work, or even a kangaroo for that convenient tooth storage pouch, or a wallaby, like a smaller like a small wallaby to more easily retrieve teeth through like a child's bedroom where the teeth are. Did you know, in a study, 74% of people believe that the tooth fairy is female? Which kind of makes sense. Like maybe people don't want to imagine a strange man fairy, a man fairy taking your child's teeth in the night. Like that's a bit creepy. But Santa is a bloke, and he does the same shit. So what gives? What's the lore with Santa and the Tooth Fairy? What's the extended universe story happening here? What is the relationship between the Tooth Fairy and Santa? Are they old friends? Are they rivals? Are they lovers? Because they would only meet each other on Christmas when Santa's out, and when a child loses a tooth, when the Tooth Fairy's out. So it would be a really rare, special moment when Santa and the Tooth Fairy meet, like an alignment of the planets. It's like Doctor Who and River Song. It's terribly romantic. They just get together and just catch each other up and reminisce, and they must have great nights together, Santa and the Tooth Fairy on Christmas. So Pisces, never forget the importance of thumbs. Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus, you might be aware of the lost art form of the fully toroid sushi roll. Because you know that a sushi roll is fish and rice wrapped up in a sheet of seaweed, like a tube, a cylinder of seaweed. The fully toroid sushi roll has the two ends of the cylinder connected seamlessly. So instead of a cylinder, it's this big circle, this donut of sushi. And sometimes you can even have like a big calamari ring, like a big ring wrapped in a single whole seaweed piece, preferably from a tubular shaped seaweed, so it's 100% seamless. You could put this sucker on a circular sushi train track, like a big circle on top of a circle, and you could just rotate that baby all day. You can just spin that delicious motherfucker around in just perfect symmetrical beauty. The fully toroid sushi roll represents the balance and the sanctity and the deliciousness of wholeness. Of course, you can't get soy sauce into the toroid sushi until you bite a hole into the seaweed. And really, what kind of a monster would do that? Like to break that perfect hole. That was the problem. That was the reason why the art form of the toroid sushi died. Because no one wanted to eat these perfect creations. No one wanted to deface the symmetrical and the whole, and so it was forgotten and stopped and lost. So your horoscope, Ophiuchus, is to embrace imperfection, because imperfection is the only way to get anything done, and it's the only way to eat sushi. Thank you for listening to the Random Article Podcast. To fully align your astrological chakra this month, please give the podcast a 5-star rating on iTunes. There's a link in the notes. Some of these sounds are by Togio Studios. There's a link in the notes. Thanks for listening, and have a lovely September.